Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Stevie's here in the studio. We have Nathan, Craig and Stuart along for the ride as well. And a few questions in, starting with one for me. Some found out last night that I'm a quarter Scottish.
A quarter? How did you
Quarter, well,
the
the last name's
Scottish?
Scottish because my granddad was Scottish and my grandma was English. And then on the other side, they're both English, so I'm a quarter Scottish.
No, you're not. 50%.
Why am I 50%?
You're half and half.
All right, I'm 50% Scottish. For Kay, given you're a quarter Scottish, or 50%, according to Stevie, can you understand Craig and Stevie when they converse in Scottish? Aye. I can.
I bet you can. Well, because you speak weird in Middlesbrough as well, so...
And we're not too far away from you, are we?
A little bit the same.
In fact, my granddad's from Ayrshire, near the racetrack.
There you go.
Yep.
Craig and I share that.
Yeah, so there you are. Of course I understand them. All right, Craig, to the boys. How do you feel about these new UEFA rules about historical achievements in terms of big clubs not qualifying the traditional way?
I haven't looked into. I saw the headline. That's really all I know about it at the moment.
So basically, you don't have to finish in the top four, but they can look at your history and say, oh, well, you've done all right in previous seasons or previously, so we're going to give you a pass.
Well, I'm a big fan of, as you know, through my grandson, my son, I'm a big fan of Nottingham Forest. And so I'm really looking forward to Nottingham Forest returning to the top table as former European champions. I mean, come on. You've got to prioritise current form and ambition and achievement. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, what's the point?
All right, Stuart, the next one for you, I'm going to ask you, do any of the forwards press the goalkeeper as efficiently as Benzema? Off the top of my head, he scored as a result of pressing the keeper in the Champions League final, PSG, and against Chelsea.
Hold on, Benzema scored off the top of your head. How'd that work?
Hope he wouldn't score off the top of my head. That would be a bit shiny, wouldn't it? I think he's very good at pressing the ball, and he's clever at pressing. He doesn't just run at the goalkeeper. When you saw him run at Mendy the other day, he started to go towards him, and he read exactly what he was going to do. I'm sure there's other centre forwards that do it quite well, but Benzema has done it excellently over the last couple of years, and he enjoys going and closing the ball down, and he also forces goalkeepers to play one way. So that's why he's a good team man. That's why he's an intelligent footballer, and that's why he has scored goals closing the goalkeeper down.
Stevie's just nodding away like this.
Football intelligence. That's what it is.
That is what it is.
Yep. Some of the situations.
Hold on, listen. That's the man that said Benzema only scores tap-ins.
I was going to leave it out, Craig, but I'm glad you brought it up.
When did you ever listen to what Dan Thomas said?
I was on the show when you said it. He just kept bringing it back up because he likes to, you know.
Right.
I love that you're denying it now.
Okay, I must admit, though.
I didn't say
No,
that.
I never denied anything.
No,
They're gonna
I
go
must
back and
admit,
find
though,
it.
he is. To be fair to Stevie, he's got enough money in the bank with Lukaku at the moment. He's dining out on that one, for sure.
What about that header the other day? I'll tell you what, I was going mental in the house.
You've just given him a chance to go off on that one again. All right.
Yeah.
Craig, it is great to have you back.
Is
Says
it?
Sergeant Barnes.
Who said that?
Sergeant Barnes 4.
Somebody
Said nobody.
Somebody stuck that in. Is somebody
Listen,
behind the scenes?
listen.
letting
Even
that
I'm
in?
not. Listen, I'm not happy to have myself back. Trust me.
Craig, it is great to have you back. I'll say it again. How big of a disaster would it be for Everton if they go down and don't come right back up? The Championship is filled with big traditional clubs who went down only to never return to top-flight football.
Yeah, it would be huge. It would be huge for them. The recruitment and has been horrendous. I think, and there's people that know a lot more about it than me, but I think there has been interference in certain strategies by ownership, by, is it Moshiri, who I think have tried to shoehorn them down a certain path with certain things. It's just been terrible. Obviously, Lampard's gone in there. He's not been able to stop the sinking ship thus far. I saw some headlines today even talking about potentially him being sacked before the end of the season if it becomes even more desperate. And as Stevie knows better than me, having played in Merseyside for so long, it's such a traditionally great club, great place to go and play. We've got this new stadium on the horizon, but they're not good enough. They're not too good to go down. They're just not. And you only got to look at, I mentioned Nottingham Forest earlier in this programme, Leeds United, Wolves were down there for a long time. The Sheffield Wednesday, Stevie's old club, have been away for a long time. But good clubs, really good clubs. So, yeah, I would be hugely concerned, obviously, if I was an Evertonian at this point.
You reckon, Stevie?
It would be a huge disaster. And the thing is as well, along with Craig, I see the headlines about maybe Frank will go. Let's be honest here. Frank's not the one who's completely missing the kick 5 yards from goal, because that's what's doing them right now. You've got the likes of Keane and Holgate who are somehow missing a clearance with nobody near them that somebody that's actually paid to play the game should be able to do very, very comfortably. So you can't put that on Frank or anybody else. They're not good players, they're bought bad players. However, if they want to come straight back up, if they did go down, then it would be worth Mashiri putting his hand in his pocket and saying, right, everybody that we need, your Calvert-Lewins and your Richarlisons, people like that, you're staying, you're getting the same money, and you bring us back up in 12 months. And if you don't, then you can go. Because they have to come straight back up. And if they keep the good players that they have, then they will. You know, you look at Fulham, you look at Mitrovic, who couldn't score in the Premier League, partly because the service wasn't particularly there, and partly because he's just not quite that great in the Premier League. But if you go in the Championship, the guy's absolute dynamite. So that's why I'm saying, if you keep your Calvert-Lewins and your Richarlisons and you put your hand in your pocket to make sure that they stay, then you will come back up.
All right. Nadim, the question for you. Do you think Pep, with all the rotation, sometimes does not know what his best starting 11 is? Unlike his days in Barcelona, where he had a fixed starting 11. Is this the reason they sometimes struggle in big Champions League games?
I'm not sure, because then we were even talking about Liverpool before and how they've got such a deep squad now that you're trying to decide who comes in at which point. I think to have those options is a good thing. I think if you end up being in a point where this is the guaranteed starting 11 all the time, it means as soon as somebody falls out, then there's a significant drop-off. But I think for the two sides up there at the minute, you don't really get that sort of feel. You're wondering who they're going to play, and you understand the strengths and weaknesses of whoever's going to be in the side, but you understand that they're still going to fall in line with the style of play. So I think in some ways he knows the players who are in form, as is why someone like Bernardo Silva's played so many games this year, Rodri's played so many games and the like. But then in the same breath, he likes the competition and he knows that whoever he puts in is going to be motivated to do well. And these are very, very good players. So I think maybe gone are the days whereby you only have a starting 11, and if it's not that, then it's the end of the world. And I think he's probably in a good spot because of that.
Nadim, what are your whole thoughts on this Pep overthinking the games and him getting a bit sensitive about it? Does he overthink it?
I don't know. I think it's reached a point, say for example this season, where they've played different types of formations, different people in different spots. So whatever he goes for on Sunday, the likelihood is that you've seen it before. I think if we go back to, say, the Champions League last year without a 6, that's a very specific thing. But we're probably talking about 4 or 5 games across a 4 or 5 year period where people have asked significant questions. But the other stuff has been pretty good. So I think if those are going to be sort of if his legacy is going to come down to those 4 games, then it's a shame, because within that he's still played some of the best football we've seen and he's developed a lot of these players as well. So, I understand why you get upset about people saying he's overthinking it. He is very thoughtful and does try and do things in a certain manner, and it's not always going to work out because, at the end of the day, you are playing 11 other professionals. But overall, he seems to be doing pretty well, and most of the players who've played for him across those years, you can see how they're actively better players, and the system has been one whereby they've managed to get a ton of points. So, and even going back to something we said during the show, someone will finish second this year and they might have 90 points. Let's be clear, they've not really failed during the season. So at the end of the day, I think he's an exceptional manager, and it's going to be an iconic one when we look back in a few years' time.
Does anybody know their best starting 11? Because you've had De Bruyne, Foden, Silva.
Or does anybody know their best starting?
Well, as the invisible or the false nine,
like
whatever you want to call it.
That was like an age-old question. Like, does anybody know their starting 11? Does anybody?
Well,
know
no, I don't
City's
think
best
anybody does.
starting 11?
I don't think even Pep. You know, if you were to say to Pep right now, okay, when you're playing this invisible nine, a false nine, whatever you want to call it, who's the best one you've got at it? I don't think he could tell you. I don't think anybody can tell you. Because
it's amazing.
If they did, surely they wouldn't have had 6 different people playing in that position.
It's amazing that the questions seem to be recently about overthinking. When, okay, that's fair enough. You can ask questions if that's what you want. But this is currently the most, I believe, successful manager on the planet. I mean, if you were running a club at the moment, the 2 managers that are facing off on Sunday, you'd walk over broken glass, wouldn't you? And through burning hedges to try and get those 2. So, you know, as Nedum said, he's prepared. He has been prepared to do things that probably not many, if any, other managers have been prepared to do. And he's going to live and die by that. And so far, certainly domestically in England, he's been quids in. I mean, they've had so many Premier Leagues and Carabao Cups, and domestically they've been brilliant. So yeah, I mean, he might tinker, but my God, he's still hugely successful.
Couple of belters there, eh? Broken glass, burning hedges.
No, but I want to come to Stuart on what Craig's saying, because Stuart, do the questions like this and the overthinking with Pep come down to the fact that there hasn't been that Champions League win again for him?
Yeah, but when you talk about overthinking, Pep Guardiola is the brilliant coach he is because he's a great thinker. He's done things differently to other people. Who would have said Mascherano, when he was at Barcelona, would become a centre-back? Who would have said Kimmich, when he was at Bayern Munich, could be a centre-back who came out with the ball? Who would have said that fullbacks should come in field and play in a number 6 position when the other midfield players go forward to create an overload there? Who would have thought lots of different things that he's done? Who would play with a false 9 that's so deep and the 2 wide players going further forward? He's a brilliant manager, and I don't think he should be accused that. We're also accusing, or people are accusing, Ancelotti of picking the same team week in, week out, and that's a problem. So make your minds up. What do you want as people?
Yep, you can't get away with it. I mean, I'm going to end this here, but I just can't get over the fact that I didn't need to pay all that money to go to one of those genetic sites to find out what my history was, when I should have just told you and you'd just have told me. 50% Scottish.
Well, hey, you know where I live.
25% Scottish, 40 Scottish. Thanks so much for your questions. Thanks to the guys for being here as well. And we'll see you again and do it all over again.
If that's Kay, tell her to get lost.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and of course, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.